While spending time here on North Beach, the first two locations to fish are right here under Highway 81, which runs from Corpus Christi all the way into Portland. And this is right on the edge. This is the very tip of North Beach. And over here, it's a private RV park with their own little pier that's here. But this little platform, and actually this spot is the number 1 and number 2 spots that I'm going to talk about today, fishing here on North Beach. Over there is Aquabites, which it's a boat ramp on the other side, but it's got a pier that extends out. That's the number 1 place to fish here. I'm not going to walk all the way over there and go over the explanation on that. As a matter of fact, that location is on one of our piers to fish off of here in Corpus Christi. But that's the number 1 spot to fish here on North Beach. You can just sit out there in the middle, because there's actually a channel that runs in front of that pier, runs in between these columns here, that runs this way in front of this RV park before it goes out into the bay. So this is an excellent place to fish. Usually catch trout here, sand trout, speckled trout. You know, I've yet to see any black drum being caught here. I've seen reds caught here, and just like this guy here that's wade fishing, that he's fishing right under this bridge. So it makes for a good spot, because you can actually get close enough to throw in between these pylons of the bridge, or if you like to just bring your tent, some chairs, there's a nice little platform that's here that I'm standing on right now. It's a little cement platform. This is where I like to fish from. You just put your chairs here, throw out right here in this area. I like to just use a drop leader, dead bait, or with popping cork with some live shrimp, and just throw in from here and sit down and just relax and have a good time. It's a little noisy because of the freeway, but other than that, it makes for an excellent place to fish here on North Beach. So these are your first 2 spots, which is there at Aquabites Pier, and this little platform area that's right here makes for some excellent fishing. Let's go on to the next one. The number 3 spot to fish here is this jetty that's almost over here on the tip. Our first 2 locations were right over there by the lighthouse, and of course that's Highway 81 going to Portland. But this is pretty neat, because they built this jetty years ago, which ran it all the way out here. But the reason they built this was so they could fill in this whole area going this way, going back toward the Lexington, with a ton of sand to build up the beach here on North Beach. Because North Beach, they would fill in the sand, and historically it would get washed out. They'd fill it up again, it'd get washed out, which was basically wasting a lot of money, a lot of resources. So they built this jetty, and which of course protects, you know, the land from the water, from the waves and everything else. And it helped with the sand. As a matter of fact, once they filled it back in, once they built this jetty, the beach stabilized quite a bit, to where it made for excellent beaches here on North Beach, considering it had been getting washed away for decades. So the good thing about this is this isn't not the good thing about it, but this jetty doesn't stick all the way out in the water, because it's basically a sand barrier for North Beach. But on this side that I'm standing on, makes for some excellent casting to throw out from here into this whole little part of the bay here, because it's kind of a cove over there where the RV park is. It drops in over here, and actually that little area right over there behind that little wall of rocks, that's an excellent place to throw your cast net too for bait, because the small bait will run around those little rocks where those seagulls are over there, and it makes for a good cast netting place for live bait. But this whole jetty, you can set up in different places and just fish, throw in on this side. Now the problem here is once it gets dark, there's no lights. You can see a couple of lights right here, but that's basically for the end of this beach walk that's over here. But as you can see from what I'm standing on, there's one here, one there, one there, one there. There's a whole bunch of them. Used to have lights, but I guess over time they weren't being used, or not enough people were out here to where they did the maintenance on the lights, and they just eventually took them all down. So if you come out here at night, make sure you have your little lanterns, your pop-up lanterns, whatever you need. But it makes for some good fishing out here. When you get a chance, come out here to the tip of North Beach. Our 4th location is a little bit hidden, so you have to look for it. And so I'm going to show you from here on the road, and then show you the path that gets there, and then show you the end result at the end. Now, if you're coming from Portland by that new lighthouse and by the Whataburger, you have to exit North Beach, but you stay on the feeder road, which brings you all the way over to here, and you turn on this road, you take a right to where we're parked right here. This is on the way to, I don't know, this big cement factory or something that's over here. But right here where this pole is, there's a little path that goes right this way, and we're going to follow that path to the end, and I'm going to show you an excellent fishing spot here on North Beach. So we completed our walk. You can see where I'm parked, probably a good 200-300 yards that way. As you can see, the water, this is not a good place to come walk to after high tide. And if you see a lot of water, you might as well come in your rubber shoes or just an old pair of shoes, because otherwise you're going to walk through some water, you're going to walk through some mud, through all this little vegetation to get here. Now, the great part about this is one of those nice hidden spots to fish at. And here, over there where the lighthouse is, you can actually come in here on a boat. I've seen boats, you know, fishing over here, fishing this whole area. But someone was creative enough to build this little fishing deck out here, which I don't know how they did it or had the time to come out here and lug some of these, you know, pylons. And somebody even put a trash can out here, although there's still a ton of trash, bunch of pigs when they fish. I don't see why people don't want to clean up after themselves. Now, this little platform, you can fish from here. Makes for excellent fishing in this area. But let me tell you this real quick. Be careful and try not to wade fish. If you're going to wade fish, make sure you got some solid shoes on, something with a nice rubber bottom, because the only downside to fishing here is this area, and I'm not a professional oyster person, but it's an oyster bed. There's oysters down here, and you'll get hooked up a lot, but just like a lot of people that fish, oyster shells tend to come off the ground, you know, if they're pulled on pretty good with a fishing line. But as you can see, you know, down here, there's a cluster of oyster shells. But that's the only downside to fishing here, other than the ugly walk to get here from the road. But well worth it. And of course, if you come at night, there is absolutely no lighting whatsoever. And I really wouldn't want to walk back through there at night to get back to your vehicle. But early in the morning, fishing is excellent, and just keep this place in mind. So you can see exactly where I'm at. You see this when you're coming in from Portland. If you glance off to the right, you see the back of this little channel, and you can see this little pier from the road too. So that's exactly where I'm at. So put that as one of your designated hidden fishing gems. The fifth and final place to fish here on North Beach is off of the jetties here in the Lexington area, the USS Lexington. And it's the reason this is the best place to fish. It's not only an excellent place to fish off of this jetty, you can get all the way down there to the end. There's a little square cement block at the end, and it's a nice pathway that goes all the way. You don't have to walk over the different granite rocks and bundles. So you can walk all the way out there. You can fish the really deep water that's on the other side of that block at the end, or this whole area between the Lexington and this area, this stretch right here, is also excellent fishing. I've even seen people wade fishing in here and pulling up trout, pulling up redfish here in this area. And not only that, and the other reason why this is an excellent place to fish is the backside of this, which is hard to see because of the sun. But you've got a restaurant right there, and actually that used to be a nice little dock that had a nice little platform that I guess the restaurant owned it. They never had, you know, they never had a pathway to it, but it was just a little, like a little tiny pier that you could fish off of. But this little cove right here in between that other building, which has never been open, I've never seen it open. This little area right here, people also like to wade fish here and pull up trout and some redfish here too. So it makes for some great fishing. So, but again, this stretch here is excellent. Now on the other side where the hotels are, you know, we mentioned all the different places to fish on North Beach, but here, starting from, you know, this side of the Lexington, going all the way down almost to the jetty that we marked as the third place to fish here. Don't bother to fish there, because during the weekends, since they redid the beaches here, it's become more and more popular as they go, and you get a ton of people swimming, riding jet skis, you know, with the rentals that they bring out here. So that's not a good place to fish, even if you wade fish or whatever the case may be. It's not the same as fishing off the surf on the island. So make sure to mark your spots here for the 5 locations that I've given you to fish here on North Beach. And they make for some excellent fishing, especially if you're down here on vacation and you're staying down here in downtown, or you're staying here on North Beach. Just know you don't have to travel a long way to get in some good fishing. So thank you very much. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure to look at the information that we have for joining our boat club and from renting our boat also. So take care and good luck fishing out there.